everybody. My name is Wes Smotherman, and I am so glad you're here. This is episode 2 on Open Mic. Now, for some of you who are new to this channel and you're wondering, what is Open Mic? Open Mic is a podcast that I decided to do for a couple of reasons. Number one, the biggest reason is to help bring the community of Asbury Church together, as well as reach out to the community outside the church to help you guys with life's difficult questions. And one of the things that Open Mic is going to be is a platform where you guys can ask tough questions that we can in return answer them the best way we can. So I'm so excited for you guys here today. We got so much in store for you. Thank you again. I'm going to announce the winner at the end of this, who won that gift card. So please stay tuned to the very end and you will hear the winner to make sure that your name was picked. So one of the things about Open Mic is offering an opportunity for you guys to ask difficult questions. And one of the questions that I have been getting the last couple of weeks is, Wes, during this time when my kids are at the house, what do I do with my kids? With everything being closed and activities being very minimal, what am I supposed to do with my kids? And more or less, how am I supposed to talk to my kids about this? If you are new to this channel, last week we talked briefly about some of that, so please make sure that you go and look at that. Also, before I continue, like and subscribe the YouTube channel as well as the Asbury Church Facebook page. And also leave a comment under today's episode on any questions that you may have, or maybe even topics that you would like to talk about in the future. But today I'm going to talk to you about 11 things that we can do as parents to help with our kids during this time. And just kind of for a reference, the article that I'm reading with you today is going to be on the description below. So there are a couple of other links that you can click on, as well as a story and a coloring book that you can do with your kids to talk about the coronavirus. So with that being said, here is the first thing. And number one is keep routines in place. Believe it or not, routines are one of the things that kids depend on, especially those who are really anxious. When you have kids that are very anxious, they depend on routines to help them get through the day. And so what I mean by routine is just kind of the things they did that they did when school started, like when they wake up, when they eat their food, and also when they go to sleep. And also do this as a family. Get together with your kids and talk about this routine and involve them as much as you can on how they want this to look like. So that was the first thing, keep a routine. The second thing is be creative about the new activities as well as exercise. It's a good idea to incorporate new things. They may be things that they're not interested in, but it's also important to have a variety of things that your kids can do, whether that's cooking, whether that's coloring as a family, or maybe it's going outside and just having some exercise. Whatever it may be, incorporate things that they like as well as new things to keep things up and going. The third is manage your own anxiety. Believe it or not, this is a stressful time. We are uncertain about our jobs, and maybe finances are a big issue for you. But the thing is, our kids are going to drive off of how we feel and what we do. So that is why it's very important to manage your own anxiety and really be careful about what you talk about around your kids. Now, I'm not talking about lying or acting as if everything is okay. I think every kid should see a healthy balance of fear from parents, but just make sure that you keep some of your conversations and your fears to yourself, as well as do a good job of having self-care for yourself, because you're no good to your kids if you're anxious. Number 4 on the list is limit consumption of news. Oh my goodness, this is a huge one with all the news going on because there's no sports apparently because everything is canceled. It's very easy to just be stuck on the news channel watching the news day in and day out. And so one of the things I want to encourage you to do is limit your time on the computer, on social media, or maybe on the news. Maybe you have that friend who's on social media posting pictures that can cause a lot of our kids anxiety. If you have control over that and your kids do access social media, then let's come alongside and let's help limit that so we can help them reduce some of the fear and sometimes unwanted fear that the media can portray. Number 5 on the list is stay in touch with reality. Keep your support network strong, even when you're only able to call or text friends and family. It's very important that we use social media because I know kids, they want to see their friends face to face. And so one of the things that I have done with my daughter is my daughter will have scheduled playtime on FaceTime with her friends. And so they'll create slime together, and they'll do this all on their iPad or their phone or their computer. And that's something that you can do too, not just for your kids, but also for yourself. Number 6 on the list is make plans. Do something that your kids look forward to. Do something a little out of the ordinary or something really, really fun, and then set that aside so that the kids have something to look forward to. When you have a plan in place, the kids can visually see that, and that will kind of really help them get excited for what's to come. Whether that's a cooking that you teach your kids, or maybe it's just like time alone with you and your kids, whether you and mom or you and dad, whatever it may be, make plans. Now, number 7 on the list is keep it positive. Yes, I understand there's a lot of things going on with the uncertainty of everything, but it is so important to be positive. Now, you may have some kids that are just so excited about, and again, so excited about school. And then you have kids that are not excited about school being let out because they really miss their friends. I totally understand that, but it's so important to be positive and to make sure that we model to our kids just kind of the way we're supposed to be acting. Number 8 on the list is also talking about, what else the list?
Sorry.
There it is. Okay, sorry about that. Number 8 on the list on the bottom, keep kids in the loop, but keep it simple. Yes, it's very important to educate our kids on what's going on, but keep it simple. We don't need to educate them on the things that really they don't understand, or really the things they don't have control over. I think it's healthy to talk to kids about what's going on around the world as well as our nation or even in your community, but keep it simple. Okay, number 9 on the list is check in with the little kids. You can be so busy working with the kids, but sometimes the little kids, because they're so oblivious to what's going on, they can almost be left out. So take the time, if you have the little ones, to come alongside with them and just kind of check in with them to see how they are doing, and also be able to respond appropriately if they have some outbursts. I know my daughter being cooped up for the last 3 weeks has been very, very difficult for her. And there have been times when I've had to pull her aside and check in with her just to make sure she's okay. All right, guys, thank you so much. Number 10 on the list is sometimes the path of least resistance is the right path. Your kids are cooped up all day, and I know prior to the coronavirus, you've had things that you did that were very limited. Limited screen time, limited video games, limited social media. You know, sometimes it's okay to let them have extra time on the things that they enjoy, especially during this difficult time. We're all in this together, but sometimes if you need to break a rule and let them have a little more extra time on their iPad or phone or even on the television, then let's do that. But again, that's where the routine comes in place. Last on the list, guys, ask and accept help. It's really important that we rely on our community, our church, as well as our family for support. Now, maybe some of you don't have that support. Maybe some of you're struggling with this all by yourself, and sometimes you feel like you're drowning. This is the time to reach out to people in your network, as well as maybe if you don't have anybody, reach out to people at the church who can come alongside with you, pray with you, or maybe even guide you to a better place on resources on what to do in your situation. But guys, I hope this was helpful for you today. Again, at the bottom of the page, you're going to find links to this article, as well as a couple more links on more activities on what you can do with your kids. I know this is tough, but have faith, take heart, use this as an opportunity to bond with your kids, as well as to just kind of decompress and just kind of look at the positives of life. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us. I appreciate it. And guys, I look forward. Stay tuned because we're here going to talk with Rick about the message on being faithful during this time. All right, welcome everybody back to Open Mic. My name is Wes Smotherman. Today we have a special guest, the very own Rick Just from the pastor at Asbury Church. So glad you're here. How are you doing?
I'm happy to be with you, Wes.
I'm always happy.
I'm always happy to be here with you.
So what's your day?
Because I know if I get myself in trouble, I got an instant counselor.
You got an instant counselor because I have all the answers.
You have all the answers. That's what I hear.
So how are you doing with everything going on today?
Actually, pretty well. You know, we've been kind of with the whole coronavirus thing, especially with our preschool and stuff. That's we've had, change after change after change, day after day. You get something new from the county, on and on. Mm-hmm. So you got to think, okay, how do we handle this? How do we handle this? And so it's a little anxious there, especially on that end. As I'm pointing that way, that's where their preschool is. So, but overall, I feel good because I feel that Asbury was pretty prepared for something like this.
Really? How so?
Well, on our live stream, I pushed really hard. Back, when was that, Sarah? Back in the fall.
Yep, probably 3 months ago.
I know Michael got tired of hearing from me, but we just felt that we needed to get that done, and we did, and made some tweaks, added some equipment, some various things, and all of a sudden here we are doing. We were having church.
And you're already prepared for it.
Yeah, we're prepared. We had a little tweak we had to do Sunday because we have 4 ways that we're streaming out of that. Yeah. So that was a little different for us. But we had to sound like a 7 transistor radio. You don't remember that in those, you're too young.
Trans what?
Transistor.
Transistor.
Yeah. Not a trans brother, it's a transistor.
A transistor. Yeah. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, you look it up. Oh, gee. See, this is what we deal with. But anyways, got the audio fixed, and then our financial giving people have really stepped up through that.
Oh, that's great.
Just the communication. Sarah's done good with our social media. Yeah. We've done all like this. We're doing all sorts of this. So
I hear your messages are okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah. That's what I hear.
Yeah. They're okay. Message is okay, but Jesus is awesome.
There we go. Yeah. That's such a old.
Yeah, write that down for you counselors so you can use that.
You such good pickup lines.
I do.
I wish I had that ability.
I wish you did too.
Pickup lines. Have you watched yourself with these sermons? Like, I find it hard to watch yourself when you do these things.
Yeah.
Because you're always looking at yourself going, man, I look fat, I look skinny. My nose is big, my head's big. Yeah,
and stripes, I must have ate a donut because the stripes are sticking out.
Do you ever look at your own videos and do that?
Or you
just don't care? With your age, you've already been through everything.
Yeah, I noticed you mentioned in last week's podcast, the old guy, so.
Well, you've seen it all, man.
Yeah, I've seen it all.
What, the Kennedy's assassination, right?
I have.
You've been through the first step on the moon, right? Was that you?
Yes.
Right.
I remember.
You walked through the depression.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Wait, depression.
Yeah, my depression is being here with you.
That's too far back. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, okay. I got some medicine this morning, knowing I'd be with you today, so I'm able to make it through.
Well, you've been through a lot, and you've seen this, so it's very interesting to hear from your generation on how people are handling this, and really surprisingly, a lot of people are a lot more cheerful than I thought.
Yeah.
The ones that are freaking out are the millennials. Yeah. I feel like they're the ones that are going out buying rolls of toilet paper.
My
God! I don't know why. Like the coronavirus is going to make you just go everywhere, but I just don't.
There's all sorts of things I could say about that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the perspectives from the different generations on how they handle. And I think a lot of that's life experience.
Yeah, I think so too. And I really appreciate like the generation older than me, though. Honestly, if we wouldn't have sent out a letter or a note basically saying you need to stay home, their commitment level has always been that they will be at church no matter what. Yeah. And so for their sake, before all this other stuff, but on the very first front end of this, it was like you all need to stay home because we care deeply for you. Yeah. You and I maybe won't catch it in the same way, although I guess I'm finding I'm in that range now. Yeah. But be that as it may. So
it's cool to see that they value God. Right. That their value so much that they're willing to go out even when it's something that's dangerous for them because they value God that much. And and I really encourage people during this time to really hold on to that, because I wish we could see more of that.
Yeah. Well, it's a difference between commitment and involvement and all that plays out. There's no such thing as a redo for a kamikaze pilot. They're committed. They're committed.
Oh man, I beefed it. Hit the wrong boat.
It's the difference between eggs and bacon at breakfast time. You have one that's committed and one that's involved. And so
what the heck?
we're talking about people being committed
I'll
here.
come back to that.
Well, someday I'll help you understand that. But
these are way over my head.
Yes.
Gotta go slow with me.
Yeah, I'm working on it. So, anyways, but see, and it's leading into, I think, what we want to talk about today. They are a very faithful people.
Yeah.
They've been faithful. They've gone ahead of us, blazed the trail with regards to faithfulness. And today we're talking about being faithful in a time such as this. What's that look like? Yeah. And my wife, Mary Lou, her favorite song comes out of this hymnal.
Oh,
you know what a hymnal is? Yeah, they have these books with words and notes on them.
Man,
it's amazing. You should really
learn.
When
was this created?
It was actually created during your time.
But first time,
you have to read
your
first.
Grandparents.
You have to read first, though.
I have to read. I know how to read.
Anyways,
I got my education.
Those of you who know this song, most everybody knows, "Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee." Now, most people say, "What's that mean?" Well, as the sun moves, the shadow moves, but for God, there is no shadow with turning. I mean, He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday who said that she sang this song to her kids, or sings this song to her kids a lot at night because it's her favorite song. Yeah. And the little boy always says, "Mommy, will you sing that shadow song? Will you sing that shadow song with me?" And that's what he's talking about the great, the faithfulness.
That's an interesting perspective on the shadow. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think we need to remember that God's not changed.
Yep.
I know I hear a lot from just my clients and just from friends and family that there's a lot more fear and questioning now about God than there was earlier. And to me, it's like, well, nothing changed. Yeah. Like God has still been the same even before the coronavirus. And so I think we put God in a box.
Yep.
And we just think that He's only limited to these certain things that our minds can't comprehend how big and amazing He is.
Well, and it's a reflection of the culture of postmodernism.
Yes.
Which you're dealing with a lot in the younger folks, because when everything's relative and there's no such thing as truth, which is a truth statement in and of itself. When there's no such thing as truth or an absolute statement, then all of a sudden people are really looking for something that provides them with stability. And God is that one who provides. I mean, if He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and I'm not talking about being static. Yeah. I'm just talking about being a God you can trust. You can know that He is faithful. Yeah. I mean, even when we're not, Scripture says, even when we're not faithful, God is faithful, because He cannot be untrue to who He is.
That's true. And I think that goes alongside with just remembering that we are not powerful enough to screw up God's plan. Yeah. Like we get so concerned sometimes with every single little thing that we do that we forget that God is the gatekeeper of our lives. Yeah. And if we can learn just to trust the Lord and begin to walk through and just do what He calls us to do, like James, do not just merely listen to the word and so deceive yourself. Do what it says.
Do what it says.
He will provide the rest of the path.
Yep. Yep. And if we're talking point A and point B, and this is God's plan, He's gonna get to point B. Now we may screw it up in between and go ditch to ditch, but ultimately, He's gonna get us there. Now it would, to use one of my words, behoove us to, you know what that word means? Like, to behoove us. It would be really good for us. It would be to our advantage.
Oh, to our advantage.
Yeah,
it's just such strong words.
It is. It's. I know it has 3 syllables, but I think you can get it. Advantage. So if it'd be to our advantage if we follow God's plan for our lives as we sort that out, and that path then becomes like Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Yeah. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. Yep. So there you go.
I like that verse.
Yeah. But the whole thing about faithfulness, and the reason I kind of wanted to talk about this is, what's it look like, church, in 2 years from now? This also comes from a conversation I had yesterday. 2 years from now, when we get on the other side of this, prayerfully, that the culture looks back and goes, well, what'd the church do? Yeah. Nothing. Yeah. So are we going to cower? Are we going to hide? are we going to find ourselves all anxious and stressed out? And, we're the ones who tell people, trust in the Lord with all your heart. We're the ones who say, cast your cares upon the Lord. We're the ones who say, when Jesus says, come to me, you who are heavy burdened, I'll give you rest. And then we're the ones who can't get any rest. Something's wrong with that picture.
Yeah, we're not believing.
We don't even believe the very promises that Jesus told us. So what's wrong with us then all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So how will we be faithful where we become a witness to the surrounding community, culture, where they go, you know what? Man, that church.
Yeah.
I never experienced anything like it.
So what does that look like? Like, what are some things that pop up in your mind when you think about that? Because I think a lot of people are curious as to what they can do individually, what can they do as a church, and so what comes up to mind when you think about that?
Well, we've been talking here about some of those ways and what it looks like to really, really pay attention to the needs around us. Now, we can sit in here and put out a Facebook post and say, hey, what do you think? But I think that also means that we have to go beyond that and physically. I know we're supposed to have social distancing, which is an oxymoron because it's really spatial distancing, yes. Right? If you think about it.
Yeah, it's true.
But you still go into a grocery store, you still go walk by the neighbors or whatever. You can ask, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
We can make the phone calls for that. We sent out note cards yesterday because there's something about a written card, just letting people know, personal. Encouraging, hey, we haven't forgot about you, those kind of things. I'm thinking about some ways of affirming some of these people in some of these stores where everybody's getting mad at them.
Yeah.
They're doing their job and everybody's getting mad at them because they're out of toilet paper, for Pete's sake. Meanwhile, back at their home, they've got 12 packages of them.
Yeah. And it's hard, and I think this all starts with us individually and making sure that we have the right mindset of not just who God is, but what our calling is.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, I think now is the time for the church to step up, to act out. And unfortunately, we don't do that. And the church starts with us.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with us individually to go out, and it's not very difficult. Like you said, it doesn't have to be, well, I got to go dump all this money to an organization or to someone. Like, that's great if you can do that, but more or less, it's what can we do with ourselves individually? Like you said, let's reach out to people. Like you said, writing a note is so powerful. Just writing a letter to somebody is so much more personal because anybody can pick up the phone and text. That's great. I'm not saying you should, don't do that. But I'm saying is try to go to the extraordinary to show how much you care. And sometimes that simple letter writing or even a pickup and calling somebody is a lot more personal than just typing.
You've used the word personal twice in just your response here, which is relational. It's a relational word.
Yes.
And so Christianity, following Jesus, is relational. I'm preaching this Sunday on where Jesus says, I am the vine.
Yeah.
And that whole connectivity, what that means, where we remain in the vine, it's all about relationship.
Yeah.
And in relationship, then we follow Jesus. And to follow Jesus means we're a disciple. And to be a disciple means we're fruitful. Yeah. And those kind of things. But then also to be a disciple, and I think I was sharing with you a little earlier before we were on here, is where Jesus says, if you're going to follow me, you're called to pick up your cross and follow me. But then all of a sudden that takes it to a new level. So I was talking with my friend Wendy Moeller-Seib yesterday about what's that look like when we think of the plague from years gone by, way before your time and mine. But the plague, when the religious leaders, when Christians actually knew that by virtue of them going to help someone, it meant they would be infected and probably die.
Yeah.
Are we willing to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, and I told my wife this last night. I said, if it's just me, I'm saying yes.
Yeah.
But when I know that you could be infected, or my kids or grandkids, then all of a sudden it plays a little bit different. And so how do we do that? How do we be faithful, knowing that it may cost us much more than just our being in a building like this?
Yeah.
Way more than that.
Yeah.
How do we be faithful?
Yeah,
I want to be faithful.
That's a very, very tough question, because that question you can't answer without reflection of your own heart.
Yeah.
And like where your stance is with the Lord, because you're right, like that question is really going to push people.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy just to be comfortable and almost like rely on the government or rely on the first responders and other people to deal with these needs, when you're right, like we are the ones that should be going out. And it doesn't mean that you should go out right now and go to the most heavy populated place that has the most disease and go right in it. Like if you feel like that's God's calling for your life, great. But there are other ways we can do this. And I think most importantly, we have to have a listening ear.
Yep.
We have to be able to hear what that voice is, because I think some of us, we are so distracted by everything around us. And I also believe, truly big believer, in that we don't spend enough time or time at all with God to recognize his voice.
Yeah.
And so many times God's calling us to do something and we're just not hearing it because we are so distracted by what the world is saying, what the media is saying, what our needs are, what we need, that we kind of just like put God in a box. So it's a hard thing to do. Like it's easy concept, but it's really hard to do. Yeah,
and a little bit different note then is I think one of the things that's important for us in being faithful is, sometimes when we're in the thick of things, last week was just chaotic, and I was sending emails to the board and different people and all sorts, but I've told several people, there's times when I get someone will email me and say, okay, what should we do? And it's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for us to surround ourselves with wise counsel.
Yeah.
I mean, who are those that we can respect, that we know have a faith, that's a strong faith, and that we can together talk about, converse, say, what are the options here? And of course, when you do surround yourself with wise counsel, then you have more voices, you have more of a discerning, you have a filtering there, and it's like, okay, I think I'm on the right path, or man, I was way off here. But I think that's helpful too for us as we're seeking to move forward in all this.
Well, the word you said was wise counsel, and you have to define that, because a lot of people will give good counsel or a counsel, but it's not wise.
Yeah.
And I think that's another key, is just trying to make sure that you put in your circle people that are wise, because so many times we are fed so much stuff that's not true, so many things that are not fruitful and helpful for our own thoughts. And we just continue to make poor decisions, more or less based upon emotions, than we do on what's best up here.
Yeah, well, and wisdom is the application of knowledge. Yeah. I mean, you can know all sorts of things, but then how do you apply what it is you know? How do you apply it then in a way that is fruitful and productive? Yeah. Well, I'm probably not going to go ask a person who has just maybe, in our context, in the Christian context, has just come to Christ a few weeks ago and asked them some of these really deep questions about decisions, because they don't have that kind of wisdom yet. They've not come to that point. I'm going to go to some other people that I know that have been around the block a while, who've been in leadership in a variety of ways, who can share with me here's even in my experience what's happened, because a person who's only been a Christian for 3 or 4 weeks can't talk much about their experience other than who they were pre-Christian.
You brought up a good point. There may be some people out there that God is calling for them to step up and to be disciplers of Christ and to reach out to people. I think there are a lot of us, especially men, we need to step up and we need to be good leaders in our marriage. And we need to step up and reach out to people and call them and check in on them. And so maybe that's you. Maybe you're the person that God is calling you to step out in faith and to really begin to pray about who God wants you to minister to, whether it's on the phone. Because, I mean, with technology today, we're not behind on this. Like, nothing has changed when it comes to our technology. It's just now we're realizing we have it.
Yeah.
Like now people are like, oh, we could do all this stuff. We can connect. And all the millennials are like, we've had this the whole time. And it's like, people get so confused and like, oh, this is so great. We have this little technology. So like, that's not changed, And so I think you're right. You hit it on the nail. And I really think it takes a big, it takes a stance of just really reflection of your own heart to kind of ask God, where are you guiding me? Where do you want me to be? But that first starts with getting in the Word.
Yep.
And praying together as a family. Like, that's another thing. My wife and I have began to pray a lot more together as a family. Like, this has drawn my parents and I together and my brother and I together. And we even started to have church at our house. Like, we have people come over at our house and we'll watch a lesson online from a church. And it's awesome to see us.
Hey, I know together. A good church you can tap into.
What's that?
Yeah.
Asbury Church.
www.asburychurch.org.
All right. So, hey, appreciate you coming here. I hope you guys have learned a lot from this about how to be faithful during this difficult time. If you have any more questions, please reach out to Asbury Church, to Rick, or even I at the Asbury Counseling Center. Look forward to seeing you guys, and you guys stay safe. All right, welcome back. Now is the time to announce the winner. For those of you who subscribed and liked the YouTube channel, as well as the Asbury Church Facebook page, the winner is Nicolette Stacy. Thank you so much for posting a comment, as well as liking and following the Facebook page. You can call the church and ask for me, and they'll leave a number for you, and I will call you back and get you that price to you. For the rest of you, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week. Please post a question or a topic that you want to cover, as that will be next week's discussion, as well as some other things you may not know. We'll find out. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Rub elbows. Have a great day.